Dr. Lisa Carter stared at her workbench in confusion. For the third time this week, someone had moved her tools. The molecular scanner sat in the wrong place, and its cables were wrapped differently than she remembered. She rubbed her tired eyes and checked the time. It was early morning on Kepler Research Station, and most of the crew was still sleeping. Lisa worked as the station's xenobiology expert. She studied alien life forms that ships brought back from distant worlds. The job was important because understanding alien biology helped humans know which planets were safe to visit. But lately her work was becoming very difficult. "Pete, are you there?" Lisa spoke into her communication device. "Yeah, what's up, Lisa?" Dr. Pete Williams answered. He was the station's security chief and Lisa's friend. "My lab has been messed with again. Can you come take a look?" Pete arrived 10 minutes later carrying his security scanner. He was a tall man with short brown hair and serious eyes. He looked around the lab carefully, checking every corner and surface. "Tell me exactly what's different," Pete said. Lisa pointed to her equipment. "The molecular scanner was over there yesterday. Now it's here. The cables are wrapped in a spiral pattern, but I always keep them straight. And look at this." She showed him a small device that measured air quality. Someone took it apart and put it back together, but they did it wrong. "The parts are in different places," Pete frowned. "Have you tested if it still works?" "That's the weird part," Lisa said. "It works better than before. The readings are more accurate and it processes data faster, but the modifications look so crude and random." Pete took pictures of everything and made notes. "Who has access to your lab?" "Just me, Commander Murphy, and the cleaning crew. But the cleaning crew only comes twice a week and this happened last night." "What about the Zenthari delegation?" Pete asked. The Zenthari were tall, blue-skinned aliens who were visiting the station. They were supposed to be humanity's allies in space. "They're not allowed in the research areas without supervision," Lisa said. "Besides, this doesn't look like their technology. Their work is always perfect and clean. This looks like someone used random junk to make improvements." Pete finished his examination and shook his head. "I don't see any signs of forced entry. No fingerprints or DNA traces either. But I'll check the security cameras." After Pete left, Lisa tried to work, but she couldn't concentrate. She kept looking around, expecting to see someone watching her. The station felt different somehow, like there were eyes everywhere. At lunchtime, Lisa sat with Commander Jack Murphy in the station's dining hall. Murphy was a strong man in his 40s with gray hair and kind eyes. He had run Kepler Station for 5 years and was respected by everyone. "Pete told me about your lab problems," Murphy said as he ate his sandwich. "Do you think it could be sabotage?" "I don't know," Lisa replied. "If it's sabotage, it's the strangest kind I've ever seen. Instead of breaking my equipment, someone is improving it." Murphy raised his eyebrows. "Improving it how?" Lisa pulled out her tablet and showed him the test results. The air quality sensor now detects chemicals it couldn't find before. The molecular scanner processes samples 30% faster. Even my coffee machine makes better coffee now, though I have no idea how. "That doesn't make sense," Murphy said. "Why would someone sneak into your lab just to help you?" "That's what I want to know." That afternoon, Lisa discovered something else strange. Her work boots were missing from her quarters. These weren't ordinary boots. They had special magnetic soles that helped people walk in the station's low gravity. Without them, moving around was difficult and dangerous. Lisa searched her small apartment thoroughly. The boots were nowhere to be found. She called Pete again. "Someone stole my boots," she said when Pete arrived. "Your magnetic boots? Who would want those?" Pete looked confused. "I don't know, but I can't work without them. The lab has low gravity zones where I need magnetic grip." Pete helped her search, but they found nothing. "I'll put out a station-wide alert," he said. "Maybe someone took them by mistake." 3 hours later, Lisa's boots appeared in her lab. They sat on her workbench as if they had always been there. But they looked different. Someone had attached small metal pieces to the soles. Thin wires connected the metal pieces to tiny boxes near the ankles. Lisa picked up one boot and examined it carefully. The modifications looked crude, like someone had used spare parts from other equipment. But when she put the boots on, they felt amazing. They gripped the floor better than before, and walking felt smoother and more natural. "This is impossible," Lisa said to herself. "These modifications shouldn't work, but they do." She tested the boots in the low-gravity section of her lab. Usually, she had to move slowly and carefully to avoid floating away from the floor. But with the modified boots, she could walk normally, even run if she wanted to. The magnetic grip was stronger and more responsive. Pete returned to check on her and found Lisa walking on the ceiling. "How are you doing that?" Pete asked, staring up at her. "The boots," Lisa said, walking back down the wall to the floor. "Someone modified them. They work incredibly well now." Pete examined the boots when Lisa took them off. "This wiring doesn't make sense. It looks like it was done by someone who doesn't understand human technology, but somehow it works better than the original design." That evening, Ambassador Kethvar of the Zinthari delegation requested a meeting with Commander Murphy. Kethvar was 7 feet tall with smooth blue skin and large black eyes. He spoke in a deep, musical voice that always sounded slightly threatening. "Commander Murphy," Kethvar said, "my people have detected unusual scents in the lower levels of your station. Scents that should not exist here." "What kind of scents?" Murphy asked. "Organic compounds that violate several interspecies treaties. You must investigate immediately." Murphy frowned. "Can you be more specific?" "What treaties?" Kethvar's large eyes narrowed. "Treaties that prevent certain species from existing in human space. Species that were deemed too dangerous to survive. Are you saying there are dangerous aliens on my station?" "I am saying that if such species exist here, we will be forced to take action. The treaties are very clear about this." After the Zenthari left, Murphy called Lisa and Pete to his office. He told them about the conversation. "What do you think he meant?" Lisa asked. "I don't know," Murphy replied, "but I don't like the sound of it. Pete, I want you to do a complete security sweep of the station. Check every level, every room, every storage area." "Already on it," Pete said. "But so far I haven't found anything unusual. Just Lisa's equipment problems." Lisa thought about her modified boots and improved equipment. Someone or something was on the station, hiding and helping her work. But who or what could it be? And why were the Zenthari so concerned about it? As she walked back to her quarters, Lisa felt like invisible eyes were watching her every step. The station's corridors seemed full of shadows and hidden spaces. Tomorrow, she decided, she would stay in her lab all night and try to catch whoever was helping her. She had no idea that her decision would change everything for humanity and reveal a secret that could start a war among the stars. Pete Williams sat in the security office, staring at dozens of screens showing camera feeds from around the station. He had been watching footage from the past week, looking for any sign of who was entering Lisa's lab. So far, he had found nothing useful. The cameras showed empty corridors during the times when Lisa's equipment was being modified. No people walked through the halls. No doors opened or closed. The lab appeared completely empty, yet somehow work was being done inside. "This doesn't make sense," Pete said to himself. He switched to a different camera angle and watched the same time period again. Still nothing. Pete decided to try the thermal imaging cameras. These special cameras could see heat signatures from living beings even in the dark. He pulled up the thermal footage from last night when Lisa's boots had been returned. At first, the thermal images showed nothing unusual. The corridors appeared cold and empty. But then Pete noticed something strange. Small spots of heat were moving through the air vents above Lisa's lab. The spots were tiny, no bigger than a house cat, but they moved with purpose and intelligence. "What the hell?" Pete whispered. He zoomed in on the thermal signatures, but they were too small and fast to see clearly. Whatever was creating the heat signatures was moving through the ventilation system like it knew exactly where it was going. Pete counted at least 6 different heat signatures. They appeared to be working together, moving in patterns that suggested communication and planning. This was not random animal behavior. He immediately called Commander Murphy. "Commander, you need to see this," Pete said. "I found something on the thermal cameras." Murphy arrived at the security office within minutes. Pete showed him the thermal footage of the small heat signatures moving through the vents. "Could they be some kind of pest?" Murphy asked. "Maybe rats or insects that got on board during our last supply run." "I don't think so," Pete replied. "Look at how they move. They're organized. They work together. And they're only active near Lisa's lab and quarters." Murphy studied the screen carefully. "How long have they been there?" "I checked back 2 weeks. The signatures appear almost every night, but only in areas where Lisa works or sleeps. It's like they're following her specifically, or helping her specifically," Murphy said quietly. Meanwhile, Lisa was in her lab, testing her modified equipment more thoroughly. The molecular scanner that had been sabotaged was working better than any scanner she had ever used. It could identify chemical compounds that normally required much more expensive equipment to detect. She ran the same test sample through both her modified scanner and the standard scanner in the next lab. The results were amazing. Her modified scanner found 12 different organic compounds in the sample. The standard scanner only found 4. How is this possible? Lisa wondered. She looked closely at the modifications that had been made to her scanner. The changes looked random and crude, like someone had connected parts without understanding how they worked. But somehow the random connections created a more sensitive and powerful machine. Lisa tested her modified boots again. She walked to the station's gymnasium, which had a low-gravity training area for astronauts. Usually people had to move very slowly in the low-gravity section to avoid losing control. But with her modified boots, Lisa could move normally, even jump and run. Other crew members stopped to stare at her. Dr. Amy Foster, the station's physicist, came over to examine Lisa's boots. "How are you moving so easily in there?" Amy asked. "Even with magnetic boots, most people struggle in low gravity." Lisa showed Amy the modifications. "Someone altered my boots. I don't understand how the changes work, but they make movement much more natural." Amy studied the crude wiring and metal attachments. "This shouldn't work. The modifications violate basic principles of magnetic field generation, but clearly they do work. That's what I keep saying. Someone or something on this station understands technology in a way we don't." That afternoon, Ambassador Keth Var visited Commander Murphy again. The tall blue alien seemed more agitated than before. "Commander, the scents are getting stronger," Keth Var said. "My people are becoming very concerned. We believe there may be Kithara on your station." Kithara? Murphy had never heard the word before. A species that was supposed to be extinct. They are small, furry creatures that interfere with technology. Very dangerous to interspecies peace, Murphy frowned. "How are small, furry creatures dangerous to peace?" Kethvar's large black eyes became cold. "They violate the Technology Advancement Treaty. Their modifications to equipment can give species unfair advantages over others. Wars have been fought over such advantages. What exactly are you asking me to do? Search your station thoroughly. If Kithara are found, they must be turned over to us immediately. The treaties require it." After Kethvar left, Murphy felt uneasy. The aliens' demands seemed extreme for dealing with small creatures that only improved technology. There had to be more to the story. Murphy called Lisa and Pete to his office and told them about the conversation. "Kithara," Lisa repeated. "I've never heard of them in any xenobiology database." "Maybe because they're supposed to be extinct," Pete said. "But if they're the ones modifying your equipment, they're definitely not extinct. The question is, why are the Zenthari so worried about them?" Murphy asked. "And why do they want us to turn them over immediately?" Lisa thought about her improved equipment and boots. What if the Kithara aren't dangerous? What if the Zenthari just don't want other species to have better technology? "That's a serious accusation," Murphy said. "The Zenthari are supposed to be our allies. Are they?" Pete asked. "Or are they just pretending to be allies while keeping us from advancing too quickly?" That evening, Lisa decided to work late in her lab. She pretended to leave at her normal time, but then snuck back through a maintenance corridor. She hid in a storage closet that had a small window looking into the main lab area. Lisa waited for hours, watching and listening. The lab remained quiet and empty. She was starting to think her plan had failed when she heard a soft scraping sound from above. A section of the ceiling vent cover moved slightly. Lisa held her breath and watched carefully. The cover moved again, and then it slid open just enough for something small to squeeze through. A tiny, furry creature dropped silently from the vent to the floor. It was about the size of a house cat, with thick brown fur and large, intelligent eyes. The creature looked around carefully as if checking for danger, and then made a soft chirping sound. More creatures appeared from the vent. Lisa counted 6 of them altogether. They moved quietly across the lab floor, carrying small tools and materials in their tiny hands. Their movements were careful and purposeful. Lisa watched in amazement as the creatures began working on her equipment. They used tools that looked like they were made from spare parts and scrap metal. But their work was precise and skilled. They knew exactly what they were doing. One of the creatures noticed something was wrong with Lisa's microscope. It chirped softly to the others, and they gathered around the machine. Working together, they carefully took apart a section of the microscope and began making modifications. Lisa realized she was witnessing something incredible. These tiny creatures were not just randomly changing her equipment. They were improving it, making it work better for human use. They understood human technology and how to make it more efficient. But why were they helping her? And why were the Zenthari so afraid of them? As Lisa watched, one of the creatures looked directly at her hiding place. Their eyes met through the small window. Instead of running away, the creature tilted its head curiously, as if it was as interested in her as she was in it. The creature made a soft sound and pointed to itself, then to Lisa, then to the equipment they were working on. Lisa got the impression it was trying to communicate, trying to explain what they were doing. Lisa slowly opened the storage closet door and stepped into the lab. The other creatures froze, ready to run, but the first creature chirped to them, and they relaxed slightly. Lisa knelt down slowly, trying not to scare them. "Hello," she said softly. "I'm Lisa. Are you the ones who have been helping me?" The creatures looked at each other and chirped quietly among themselves. Then the first one approached Lisa carefully. It pointed to her boots, then to the modified equipment, then to itself. "You fixed my boots," Lisa said, "and my equipment." "Thank you." The creature seemed to understand. It made happy chirping sounds and touched Lisa's hand gently with one tiny paw. Lisa realized she was making first contact with an alien species that was supposed to be extinct. A species that the Zenthari wanted to capture or destroy. She had to decide whether to report this discovery or keep it secret. Looking into the intelligent eyes of the small creature, Lisa made her choice. She would protect these beings no matter what the cost. Lisa sat very still on the lab floor, afraid that any sudden movement might scare the small creatures away. The one that had approached her was now sitting just arm's length away, watching her with curious dark eyes. It was even smaller than she had first thought, probably weighing no more than 3 pounds. The creature's fur was thick and soft-looking, brown with patches of silver. It had large ears that moved constantly, listening to every sound. Its hands were tiny but clearly designed for precise work. Lisa could see calluses on the fingertips from using tools. "You're beautiful," Lisa whispered. The creature tilted its head and made a soft, trilling sound that almost seemed like a response. Lisa slowly reached into her pocket and pulled out a nutrition bar. She broke off a small piece and placed it on the floor between them. The creature sniffed the air, then cautiously approached the food. It picked up the piece and examined it carefully before taking a tiny bite. The creature's eyes widened and it made excited chirping sounds to the others. They gathered around as their friend shared the nutrition bar. Lisa watched them communicate through a complex series of chirps, whistles, and hand gestures. "You have your own language," Lisa said in amazement. "You're not just intelligent animals. You're a real civilization." The first creature seemed to understand that Lisa was trying to communicate. It pointed to itself and made a specific sound. "Pip, pip, pip." Then it pointed to Lisa and waited. "Lisa," she said, pointing to herself. "My name is Lisa." The creature tried to repeat the sound. "Lisa." Its voice was high and musical, like a bird's song. Lisa smiled. "Close enough." "And you're Pip?" "That's a nice name." Pip seemed pleased. He turned to the other creatures and made rapid chirping sounds, apparently explaining who Lisa was. The others approached more boldly, though they still kept some distance. Pip walked over to Lisa's workbench and pointed to the modified molecular scanner. He made questioning sounds and gestured as if asking for permission. "You want to show me how it works?" Lisa asked. Pip nodded enthusiastically. He called to the others and they began demonstrating their modifications. Lisa watched in fascination as they explained their work through gestures and simple drawings scratched in the dust on the floor. The creatures had been watching humans work for months. They had learned human technology by observation, but they approached it differently than humans did. Where humans saw fixed designs, the creatures saw opportunities for improvement. Pip drew a simple picture of the molecular scanner in the dust. Then he drew lines showing how energy flowed through the machine. Lisa realized that the creatures understood the equipment at a fundamental level that even the manufacturers might not comprehend. "You see the inefficiencies," Lisa said. "You fix what we don't even know is broken." Pip chirped happily and drew more pictures. He showed Lisa how the modifications to her boots worked, by drawing diagrams of magnetic fields and gravity interactions. The math was complex, but the pictures made it clear. Lisa pulled out her tablet and showed Pip a digital drawing program. His eyes lit up with excitement. She handed him the stylus and he began drawing detailed technical diagrams on the screen. The diagram showed improvements that could be made to dozens of different machines around the station. Life support systems could be made more efficient. Computer networks could process data faster. Even the coffee machines could brew better coffee with simple modifications. "This is incredible," Lisa said. "You could revolutionize human technology." But Pip's expression became sad. He drew a picture of his people hiding in the vents and walls of the station. Then he drew bigger creatures with blue skin, obviously the Xanthari, looking angry and threatening. "You're hiding from the Xanthari," Lisa realized. "You're afraid of them." Pip nodded vigorously. He drew more pictures showing his people's history. Lisa saw images of a beautiful planet with cities built into enormous trees. She saw the small creatures living peacefully, creating amazing technology. Then the pictures changed. Large ships appeared in the sky. Buildings burned. The small creatures fled into space looking for somewhere safe to live. "The Xanthari destroyed your world?" Lisa asked, horrified. Pip shook his head and drew different creatures, tall and thin with sharp features. But then he drew the Xanthari standing with the destroyers, apparently working together. "The Xanthari were allied with whoever destroyed your planet," Lisa said. "And now they're here looking for survivors." Pip drew one more picture that made Lisa's heart ache. It showed tiny figures floating in space looking for a new home. Some found human ships and stations. They hid in the walls and vents, living secretly while learning about their new neighbors. "You've been living on human stations and ships for how long?" Lisa asked. Pip held up both hands twice, then 3 more fingers. 13 months. For over a year, the creatures had been secretly living alongside humans, learning their technology and trying to help without being discovered. "Why help us?" Lisa asked. "Why risk being found out?" Pip drew a picture that showed humans and his people working together on a machine. Then he drew the machine working perfectly, helping both species. He pointed to himself, then to Lisa, then to the modified equipment around the lab. "You think we're alike," Lisa said. "Both our species like to build and fix things." Pip nodded enthusiastically. He drew humans and his people side by side, both creating and improving technology. In his drawings, they made a good team. Lisa heard footsteps in the corridor outside the lab. Pip and the others immediately froze, listening carefully. The footsteps passed by, but the moment reminded Lisa how dangerous the situation was. "Pip, the Xanthari are demanding that Commander Murphy search the station for your people. If they find you, they want to take you away." Pip's ears drooped, and he made sad chirping sounds to the others. They gathered close together, looking frightened. "I won't let that happen," Lisa said firmly. "But I need to tell Commander Murphy about you. He's a good man. He'll want to help." Pip looked uncertain. He drew a picture of Murphy, then added question marks around it. "I know it's scary to trust someone new," Lisa said, "but Murphy believes in protecting people who need help. And Pete Williams, our security chief, is my friend. They'll want to keep you safe." Pip chirped quietly to the others. They seemed to be having a debate. Some of the creatures looked toward the vents as if they wanted to flee. Others looked at Lisa with hopeful expressions. Finally, Pip approached Lisa and touched her hand again. He drew a picture of himself meeting Murphy and Pete, with Lisa standing beside them. Then he added hearts around the picture. "You'll trust them because you trust me?" Lisa asked. Pip nodded. Lisa felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. These creatures had survived the destruction of their world. They had lived in hiding for over a year, helping humans while staying invisible. Now they were trusting her with their lives. "I'll talk to Murphy tonight," Lisa promised, "but you should be ready to move quickly if something goes wrong." "Do you have a safe place to hide?" Pip drew a map of the station's ventilation system. Lisa was amazed to see how complex it was. The creatures had created a whole network of hidden passages and safe rooms throughout the station. They knew the station better than the humans who built it. "Smart," Lisa said. "You could disappear in minutes if you had to." Pip made proud chirping sounds. Then he drew one more picture that made Lisa smile. It showed her boots and equipment with even more improvements. Apparently, Pip had ideas for upgrades that would make her gear even better. "After we solve this problem with the Xanthari, I'd love to see what else you can do," Lisa said. The creatures began gathering their tools, preparing to leave. But before they climbed back into the vents, each one approached Lisa and touched her hand gently. She realized they were saying goodbye and thank you. Pip was the last to leave. He looked up at Lisa with his intelligent dark eyes and made a sound that was almost like a human word. "Friend." "Friend," Lisa agreed. "Always." After the creatures disappeared into the vents, Lisa sat alone in her lab, thinking about what she had learned. These small beings had the potential to change human civilization. Their understanding of technology could help humans explore space more safely and efficiently. But first, she had to keep them alive. The Zenthari were looking for them, and Lisa didn't trust the aliens' motives. Why would anyone want to hurt such gentle, helpful creatures? Lisa made her decision. She would tell Murphy and Pete everything. Together, they would find a way to protect Pip and his people. Humanity had always stood up for those who couldn't defend themselves. This time would be no different. She just hoped that her faith in human nature was not misplaced. The lives of an entire species might depend on what happened next. Lisa barely slept that night. She kept thinking about Pip and his people hiding in the station's walls, and about the Zenthari demanding to search for them. By morning, she had made her decision. She called Commander Murphy and asked for an urgent private meeting. Murphy met her in his office an hour later. Pete Williams was there too, looking concerned. Both men could see that Lisa was nervous and upset. "What's wrong, Lisa?" Murphy asked. "You look like you haven't slept." "I haven't," Lisa replied. "Jack, I need to tell you something, but you have to promise to hear me out completely before you react." Murphy and Pete exchanged glances. "Okay," Murphy said. "What's going on?" Lisa took a deep breath. "The equipment modifications in my lab weren't sabotage. They were help. And they weren't done by humans." She told them everything. About hiding in the lab and seeing the small creatures emerge from the vents. About meeting Pip and learning to communicate with him. About the pictures he had drawn showing the destruction of his people's world. When Lisa finished talking, both men sat in stunned silence. "You're telling me that small alien creatures have been living in our ventilation system for over a year?" Pete asked. "Yes, and they've been helping us." "Pete, remember all those times our life support systems had minor improvements that the maintenance crew couldn't explain? That was them. They've been quietly making our station safer and more efficient." Murphy rubbed his forehead. "Lisa, this is huge. These creatures could be the most important discovery in human history. But the Zenthari want to capture them," Lisa said. "And I don't think it's for good reasons." Pete pulled up files on his tablet. "I've been researching the Zenthari since yesterday. There are some disturbing gaps in their history. Entire star systems that they claim were evacuated for safety reasons, but no records of where the populations went." "You think they've been destroying other species?" Murphy asked. "I think they've been destroying species that might become technological competitors," Pete replied. "Lisa, you said these Cathara can improve any technology they see?" "Better than that. They understand technology at a fundamental level that we don't. They could help us advance by decades in just a few years." Murphy stood up and paced around his office. "If the Zenthari are trying to prevent other species from advancing, then discovering the Cathara puts us in a very dangerous position." "It gets worse," Lisa said. "I don't think the Zenthari know that the Cathara survived. Pip showed me pictures of his people's history. Their world was destroyed by allies of the Zenthari, but the Zenthari might not know that some escaped. So if we reveal that we have Cathara refugees on our station," Pete began, "the Zenthari will either demand that we turn them over to be killed, or they'll attack us to take them by force," Murphy finished. Lisa nodded. "That's what I'm afraid of. But I can't let Pip and his people be hurt. They've done nothing wrong. They've only tried to help us." Murphy sat back down and looked at both of them seriously. "You realize what you're asking me to do? You want me to risk war with our most powerful ally to protect a species that's supposed to be extinct?" "I'm asking you to do what's right," Lisa said. "These creatures are refugees who've been helping us survive. They trust us to protect them. Isn't that what humanity is supposed to stand for?" Pete checked his security alerts. "Jack, the Zenthari are requesting another meeting. They want to start searching the station tomorrow." "How long do we have?" Murphy asked. "Ambassador Keithvar wants to meet at 1400 hours. That gives us about 4 hours to decide what to do." Murphy thought for a long moment. "Lisa, can you contact your friend Pip? I want to meet him myself before I make any decisions." Lisa's eyes lit up with hope. "You'll consider protecting them?" "I'll consider all our options. But I need to understand exactly what we're dealing with." Lisa used her tablet to send a message through the station's internal network. She had worked out a simple code with Pip using mathematical symbols. Within minutes, she received a response. Pip says he'll meet with you, but only if Pete and I are there too. He's still nervous about trusting new people. Understandable, Murphy said. Where and when? My lab in 1 hour. But Jack, you have to promise not to bring security teams or try to capture them. If they think they're in danger, they'll disappear and we'll never find them again. Murphy nodded. Just the 3 of us. I give you my word. An hour later, they gathered in Lisa's lab. Lisa had brought more nutrition bars and some fruits from the station's hydroponics garden. She called out softly into the room, Pip, it's Lisa. I brought Commander Murphy and Pete like we discussed. They want to meet you. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then a soft scraping sound came from the ceiling and the vent cover slid open. Pip appeared first, looking around carefully. When he saw Murphy and Pete, he hesitated. It's okay, Lisa said gently. These are my friends. They want to help. Pip dropped to the floor, followed by 2 other Cathara. Murphy and Pete stared in amazement at the small creatures. Up close, it was obvious how intelligent they were. Their eyes held the same spark of consciousness as any human. Pip approached Lisa first, touching her hand in greeting. Then he looked at Murphy and Pete uncertainly. Murphy slowly knelt down to be closer to Pip's level. Hello, Pip. Lisa has told me amazing things about you and your people. I'm Jack Murphy, the commander of this station. Pip tilted his head, studying Murphy's face. Then he walked over to Lisa's tablet and began drawing. He drew a picture of Murphy in his uniform, then added question marks around it. He wants to know if you're friend or enemy, Lisa translated. Murphy thought carefully about his answer. Pip, I don't know enough yet to make promises. But I believe in protecting people who need help. And from what Lisa has told me, your people definitely need help. Pip drew more pictures. He showed the Zenthari searching the station, finding his people and taking them away. The drawings were clearly meant to show his fears. You're afraid we'll turn you over to the Zenthari, Pete said. Pip nodded vigorously. Then he drew pictures of his people working alongside humans, improving technology and helping both species succeed. You want to work with us openly instead of hiding, Murphy realized. Pip drew one more picture that made everyone understand the situation clearly. He showed the Zenthari attacking human ships and stations, destroying them the same way they had destroyed his people's world. You think the Zenthari will eventually turn on humanity too, Murphy said. Pip nodded sadly. He drew pictures showing how the Zenthari had done this to other species, pretending to be allies while preventing them from advancing, then attacking when they became inconvenient. Pete studied the drawings. Pip, how many of your people are on human ships and stations? Pip drew numbers and pictures showing Cathara on dozens of different human locations throughout space. Lisa gasped when she realized the scale. There are hundreds of you. Maybe thousands? Pip nodded. He drew pictures showing his people helping humans everywhere, fixing equipment, improving life support systems, preventing accidents and disasters. My God, Murphy said. You've been saving human lives for over a year and we never even knew you existed. Pip drew one final picture that showed his greatest hope. Humans and Cathara working together openly, sharing knowledge and building amazing things. In his drawing, both species were stronger and happier because they helped each other. Murphy stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. He was quiet for several minutes while everyone waited. Finally, he turned back to Pip. If I protect your people, the Zenthari might attack this station. Human lives could be lost. Are you willing to help us defend ourselves? Pip chirped excitedly to the other Cathara. They had a rapid conversation in their musical language. Then Pip drew pictures of weapons and shields being improved by Cathara modifications. You can make our defenses better? Pete asked. Pip nodded and drew detailed technical diagrams showing how the station's weapons and shields could be upgraded. The improvements were dramatic. The station could become nearly invincible with Cathara help. Murphy made his decision. Pip, I'm going to tell the Zenthari that we don't have any Cathara on this station. I'm going to protect you and your people. But in return, I need you to help us prepare for the fight that's probably coming. Pip jumped up and down with excitement. He ran to Murphy and hugged his leg, making happy chirping sounds. I think that's a yes, Lisa said, smiling. Pete checked his watch. The meeting with the Zenthari is in 30 minutes. What are you going to tell them? Murphy straightened his uniform. I'm going to lie to them. And then I'm going to send a message to Earth Command explaining the situation. Humanity is about to make some very powerful new friends. As they prepared to leave the lab, Pip drew one more picture. It showed humans and Cathara standing together against the Zenthari ships. In the picture, the good guys were winning. "I hope you're right, little friend," Murphy said. "I hope you're right." Commander Murphy straightened his uniform and walked into the meeting room where Ambassador Kethvar waited. The tall Zenthari looked more agitated than Murphy had ever seen him. His blue skin had darker patches that Murphy had learned indicated stress or anger. "Ambassador," Murphy said calmly, taking his seat across the conference table, "you wanted to discuss the search of our station." "Commander Murphy, my sensors continue to detect forbidden scents throughout your facility. We must begin the search immediately." Kethvar's black eyes were cold and threatening. Murphy kept his expression neutral. "I've had my security team do a complete sweep of the station. We found no evidence of any unauthorized life forms. Your human senses are inadequate," Kethvar replied dismissively. "We will conduct our own search with our own equipment." "I'm afraid I can't allow that," Murphy said firmly. "This is a human station under human authority. I won't permit foreign military personnel to search our facilities without just cause." Kethvar stood up abruptly, his 7-foot frame towering over Murphy. "This is not a request, Commander. The treaties are very clear. If Cathara are found in human space, they must be turned over immediately." "What treaties?" Murphy asked. "I've reviewed all our agreements with the Zenthari. There's nothing about any species called Cathara. Secret protocols that your government agreed to," Kethvar said. "Protocols that prevent dangerous species from disrupting interstellar peace." Murphy stood up as well, meeting the alien's threatening gaze. "Ambassador, even if such protocols existed, I would need official confirmation from Earth Command before allowing any search of this station." Kethvar's skin darkened further. "Commander, you are making a grave mistake. We know the Cathara are here. We can smell them. If you continue to obstruct us, we will be forced to take action." "Are you threatening a human installation?" Murphy asked coldly. "I am warning you of the consequences of harboring enemies of galactic peace," Kethvar replied. "You have 24 hours to reconsider your position." After the Zenthari left, Murphy immediately called an emergency meeting with his senior staff. Lisa and Pete were there, along with Dr. Amy Foster and Chief Engineer Bob Martinez. "The Zenthari are planning to attack us," Murphy announced. "They're convinced we have Cathara refugees on the station and they want to capture them. Do we?" Dr. Foster asked. She hadn't been told about Pip yet. Murphy looked at Lisa, who nodded. "Yes, we do, and we're going to protect them." Murphy explained the situation to Dr. Foster and Chief Martinez. Both were shocked but agreed that protecting refugees was the right thing to do. "The question is, can we survive a Zenthari attack?" Murphy asked. "Not with our current defenses," Martinez replied honestly. "Their ships are much more advanced than ours." "That's where our new friends come in," Lisa said. She activated her tablet and showed them Pip's technical drawings. "The Cathara can upgrade our weapons and shields dramatically." Dr. Foster studied the diagrams. "These modifications shouldn't be possible, but if they work, we could actually win," Pete finished. Murphy made the announcement to the entire station over the communication system. He told everyone about the Cathara refugees and the Zenthari threat. He gave anyone who wanted to leave the option to take escape pods to a nearby human colony. To Murphy's surprise, not a single person chose to leave. The crew voted unanimously to protect the Cathara and face the Zenthari attack together. Within hours, Pip and dozens of other Cathara emerged from the hidden spaces throughout the station. They worked alongside human engineers and technicians, rapidly upgrading every system on the station. Lisa watched in amazement as Pip directed the modifications to the main shield generator. The small creature understood the complex technology better than the humans who had built it. Under his guidance, the shields became 3 times more powerful. Chief Martinez worked with a group of Cathara to upgrade the weapon systems. "This is incredible," he told Murphy. "They're using spare parts and scrap metal to create improvements that should require completely new equipment." Dr. Foster was working on the station's sensors with another group of Cathara. "Commander, with these upgrades, we'll be able to detect Zenthari ships from twice as far away, and our targeting systems will be incredibly accurate." Throughout the station, humans and Cathara worked side by side. The small creatures were patient teachers, showing humans new ways to think about technology. The humans provided materials and labor, following the Cathara designs with growing excitement. Meanwhile, Murphy sent an urgent message to Earth Command, explaining the situation and requesting immediate support. The message would take hours to reach Earth, and any response would take just as long. They would have to face the Zenthari alone. 18 hours after the ultimatum, Pete's upgraded sensors detected 3 Zenthari warships approaching the station. The ships were massive, each one twice the size of any human vessel. "Red alert," Murphy announced throughout the station. "All personnel to battle stations." "This is not a drill." The crew moved quickly to their positions. Humans and Cathara worked together at every station, the small creatures making final adjustments to their modifications. Lisa found Pip at the main tactical console, his tiny hands flying over controls that had been modified for his use. "Are you sure this will work?" she asked. Pip looked up at her with confident dark eyes and chirped reassuringly. Then he drew a quick picture showing the Zenthari ships being defeated by the upgraded station. "I trust you," Lisa said, squeezing his small hand gently. The Zenthari ships came within range and immediately opened fire. Massive energy beams struck the station's shields, but instead of penetrating, the beams were absorbed and redirected. The modified shields not only protected the station, but actually grew stronger from the enemy attacks. "Impossible," came Kethvar's voice over the communication system. "Your technology cannot resist our weapons." Murphy activated the station's response. "Ambassador, you are attacking a human installation without provocation. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." "We will take the Cathara by force," Kethvar replied. "Your primitive defenses cannot stop us." The Zenthari ships fired again, this time with their most powerful weapons. But the modified shields held easily. Then Murphy gave the order to return fire. The station's upgraded weapons were devastating. Energy beams that should have been impossible with human technology struck the Zenthari ships with pinpoint accuracy. The aliens' own shields, designed to stop human weapons, were useless against the Cathara-modified systems. Within minutes, 2 of the Zenthari ships were disabled and drifting powerless. The 3rd ship tried to flee, but the station's enhanced tractor beams caught it easily. "This is impossible." Kethvar's voice came over the communication system again, but now he sounded frightened instead of angry. "Where did you get this technology?" "We made friends," Murphy replied simply. "Unlike some species, humans believe in helping those who need protection." After the battle, Murphy contacted the disabled Zenthari ships. "Ambassador, you have attacked a human installation and threatened innocent refugees. You will be held accountable for your actions." "The Cathara are dangerous," Kethvar protested. "They will give you technology that could destabilize the galaxy." "The only destabilizing force I see is species that attack refugees and try to prevent others from advancing," Murphy replied. "The Cathara have done nothing but help us. They've saved human lives and improved our technology. Why are you so afraid of them?" There was a long silence before Kethvar answered. "Because they make everyone else obsolete. Any species that allies with the Cathara will surpass all others. The balance of power will be destroyed." "Maybe it's time for a new balance," Murphy said. "One based on cooperation instead of domination." Over the following days, news of the battle spread throughout human space and beyond. Earth Command sent a fleet to support Kepler Station, but they arrived to find the crisis already resolved. Other alien species began contacting humanity, asking about the Cathara and the remarkable technology demonstrated in the battle. Many expressed interest in forming new alliances based on cooperation, rather than the Zenthari model of control. Pip and his people emerged fully from hiding. They worked openly with human scientists and engineers, sharing knowledge that revolutionized human technology. Space travel became safer and more efficient. Medical equipment improved dramatically. Even simple things like food production and waste recycling were enhanced by Cathara innovations. Lisa was appointed as the first human ambassador to the Cathara. She worked with Pip to establish communication protocols and cultural exchange programs. The small creatures were eager to share their knowledge, having finally found a species that treated them as equals rather than threats. The Zenthari alliance began to collapse as other species learned the truth about their suppression of technological advancement. Many worlds that had been evacuated for safety were revealed to have been destroyed to prevent competition. Commander Murphy was promoted to Admiral and given command of the new human Cathara Alliance fleet. The combined technology of both species created ships that were faster, stronger, and more efficient than anything previously imagined. As Lisa watched human and Cathara children playing together in the station's new expanded living areas, she thought about how much had